everyone. Welcome to the Joyling. I hope you chose the events that you will be participating this year to experience more joy. And today we are having an extremely important topic, which is the joy and the brain. And somehow, surprisingly, both me and Brian, we are passionate about neurobiology. This is something that I've been passionate since I was little. I love brain. Like if you want to know your superpower, go ahead and study your brain. You will know how amazing you are. And so today we will be talking about Brian.
Yeah, we've got three different benefits of why it's important to know the link between joy and the brain. And then we've got the brain's reward system, which I'm liking next to it's like the hottest club in Ibiza, right? And then Julie was going to hop in with
like what comes first? Is it emotion or reaction or the other way around?
right. And then finally, we were going to end with the neuroplasticity garden. And that is our episode today. The three key benefits of knowing about joy in the brain are you can enhance your overall well-being by choosing to add more joy in your life, right? So that's the first one. The second one is you can improve your emotional health by managing stress and negative emotions more proactively. And then third, you can strengthen your relationships by understanding how our social connections link us to joy. When you can apply, right? That's the conscious choice, and that's the real power here. So when I know myself, I can choose more joy, and voila, there it is.
Yeah, and it's also everything feels in the moment so sad. Like whatever you're experiencing, like that you will be always experiencing that, like our brain love to exaggerate things that you are, I don't know, like you are heartbroken, oh my god, forever, this will never change, that was the only guy, your ship has sailed, you are in your 20s, you will never find anyone else. Like that's the biggest bullshit that your brain is trying to make you believe that.
Right.
And that's what is fascinating about it, that your brain is divided in several areas. So there is this, I'm very simplifying it, but there is this monkey brain, and then there is the cortex. And the thing is, when you are stressed out, you don't really experience joy. But when you are stressed out, you are so focused, and your thinking, it's so limited that you just don't see everything what is there to see. But once you relax, you start experiencing more joy, more possibilities are starting to happen. So just by understanding how does your brain works, how does emotions, hormones, and all of that, and what's joy in all of that, that will pretty much empower you to make some better decisions in your life, because that's the biggest fun of life, that what you see, it's not, it doesn't really appear as it actually is, because you always have a choice and there is always a way out.
Yeah. And the more you understand about the brain, then you understand you have so much more control over your experience. Yeah, all of those different chemicals and whatnot. There's four main neurotransmitters and hormones that are around joy, right? And so there's dopamine, and that is the pleasure chemical. There's serotonin, and that's linked to our mood and well-being. There's endorphins that are like the body's natural painkillers, and they produce euphoria. And, I don't know about you, but that was a really good one. And then there's oxytocin, and that's the love hormone. And that's connected to relationships and joy. Let's say if these are the four main feel-good chemicals that we can access, well, then the question is, how can we trigger these to release in our brain? So, because I want to feel more of this, right? And so that's when the brain's reward system comes online, right? Just imagine that your brain is like the hottest club in Ibiza, right? And you've been wanting to go to it for a while. And Julia, what's a good one?
I never been to Ibiza clubbing.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there for a week and we went to all the big ones. I think it was a party every single night. It was at the beach all day, right? So it's Pasha and there's so many different ones. Yet Amnesia was a good one, right? And these are some of the classics, right? Man, absolutely amazing, right? And so your brain's the club and dopamine is the star of the show tonight, right? And all the fun experiences you have, those are like eating your favorite food or getting in a great workout or hanging out with friends. Those all have VIP passes to the show, right? And so they send signals to the VTA, which is the ventral tegmental area, and that's who's DJing the party, right? And so the signal starts spinning the dope tracks, right? The dopamine tracks, right? And so dopamine gets sent out through your neural pathways, which is like the red carpet in your mind, right? Or the red carpet in the club. And then it makes it to the brain's dance floor, which then gets flooded with dopamine. And then we start feeling awesome. And this is really the best party there is, right? And then the dopamine heads over to the VIP area, right? And which is the prefrontal cortex, and which is already busy thinking about, how can I get more of this stuff and keep the party going, right? And then it's like after a great night, and your brain is like, "Yep, let's do this again." And that's really the best part, right? The dance party is available for the little moments as well. It doesn't have to be some big adventure. So when you're nice to a friend, or you're listening to great music, or when you're creative or achieving a goal, you get access to that dope track,
Yeah, but
right?
it's
And
also worth to say about dopamine that this is something that people get from various sources, and this is and how to say it, like, okay, I will cut to that. Like when you are pretty much frying your brain, or easy dopamine, like watching porn, scrolling on social media, like doing
right.
all the things that they are giving like the instant reward,
Yeah, the
like,
apps,
yeah,
yeah, with the
like
likes and
it doesn't work. Like it doesn't, it works, but you want just more of it, and the cravings are more and more and more, and you feel like,
Mhm.
yeah, you can spend like hours of doing something and you don't feel satisfied, but that's the dopamine. But there is, thank God that there are three different ones, four different ones, and then there are three more. Because, for example, you cannot get oxytocin like by doing those shortcuts, right? Like
Right,
you really need to. And one of the cool tasks for the oxytocin, I saw this video on Instagram, and I'm so grateful for this guy. It was one of the scientists, I don't remember the name, but he said that the married men that they kiss their wife before going to work for 6 seconds, they are happier, and on average they live longer because of the oxytocin. And
right,
I told about it to my boyfriend. He was like, why six? Let's do it seven. And this 7 second kiss is like really changing. It's just like, it's
right,
crazy how it's
right,
it's it's just 7 seconds, but you really, like, you feel so much better because you feel this connection, you feel like this closeness to one another. So it's totally,
right.
it's joy, but it's not like the dopamine kind of joy.
Right. With holding a hug too, I think it's 20 seconds,
Yeah.
right? And if you get 3 hugs a day at 20 seconds, like there's something that you can actually start to feel the chemicals come out of the brain and kind of flood through the system just by holding that hug, double or triple the amount that you would normally do,
Yeah.
right? And that's really when you start to get that compound effect. So it's not just this dopamine. Let's say, hey, we're having fun at the club, boom, there's some dopamine, but you're having fun with friends and having deeper connections, then boom, you get the oxytocin.
Yeah, and
And
it's
then when you're
also,
in a good mood, then here comes the serotonin.
yeah.
And then you're feeling good about all of it. And there's this spike in endorphins. And then boom, right? So you're having the wildest, most fun, amazing time. And your body's just feeling amazing, right? By combining all the different ways that that the brain will release those chemicals, and then you compound them in one experience. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why, like, when somebody is upset, there is this natural reaction to hug them, because that it will kind of enable to release the oxytocin for the person, and they will have that calming and smoothing effect.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's also very compassionate and kind as well. And that releases more endorphins for us. And it's actually the opposite of what you would think to do. If someone's like really angry, you're not thinking, I'm going to go hug this person, right? But that's exactly what they need in that moment.
Yeah, and this is
Right.
a side note just to show that it's not only on humans, but in the slaughterhouses, when the cows are being pushed to the final round, they are being led through very narrow tunnels, because that has this calming effect. So it's not only people with the hug, but it's also, and then there is a lot of these like heavy blankets, right? Like that people can have a really heavy blanket
Right.
on them, because that really like smooth their body and like have this calming effect. So it's yeah, it's pure science. There is no like
Right.
hocus pocus, like it's happening there. So that's one of the ways, and it doesn't take much, right? It's like 7-second kiss, 3 times 20 seconds hugs, like literally in 67 seconds you are good, you are good for a day.
Yeah, and then the heavy blanket as well. That is to remind us of being really young in the womb, right? Because we're totally surrounded, and it's like this big, massive hug that you can have all night. It's like, oh, heavy blanket, right? Just make you feel good. Yeah. And you were going to talk to
Yes.
us about the emotions.
Yeah, so basically
How that
there
goes.
is this really cool book that is called How Emotions Are Made: The Secret Life of the Brain. So
Mhm.
Lisa Fedelman Barrett, she's a psychologist, and she was telling, so basically scientists for the longest time, and psychologists, they thought that, let's say you are in the woods and you are walking, and out of sudden you see a grizzly bear. So what happens? Oh my God, I see a grizzly bear. Then I feel fear. Therefore, my brain is starting to pump adrenaline as a hormone, right? Then, as an effect, my heart rate go up. And when my heart rate go up, then I breathe faster. And then my pupils dilate. And then my blood rushes to my muscles, because it's ready for me to I run or stay or I fight, whatever, right? And then
Mhm.
and that's the reaction, but actually is the opposite. First, like the brain is like pumping the adrenaline, then like all the let's say chain reactions of it's happening, and then the
Right.
brain is associating the physical reaction to the emotion, which is fear in this case, right? And then that changes everything, because also brain takes one thing into the consideration, which is the previous experiences and memories. So for
Yeah.
a regular person, if you go to the woods and you see a grizzly bear, and let's say you have a memory of like a statistic how grizzly bear are dangerous, you have all these physical reactions, like an adrenaline level up, you feel hard up, right? Like everything.
Right.
And then you it's all obvious, you are afraid, it's a fear. But what if, let's say you are a hunter, or you do hunting with your family, then when you are excited, you have exactly the same symptoms. That's why fear is often confused with the excitement.
Right.
But you are, let's say in this case, you see the bear and you are actually excited, you are not afraid, because you know that there will be dinner on the table and the mission is achieved, right?
Right.
So this is how different it can be. So basically this gives you a power to rewire your brain,
Right.
because you can choose what emotion is actually working like the best for you. So you can choose that, for example, when you do something new, and instead of like, oh my God, I'm afraid, you can say like, oh, I'm just excited, and that gives such a
Totally.
different outcome, right? Because it's exactly the same body symptoms. So it's not so it's the brain is trying to make sense out of things, not the so you are not a slave to your emotions, which is
Right.
super important to know.
Right. That's a really good practice in the moment when all of those different bodily reactions are happening, to step back and understand that, okay, there's something happening with the biological factor of the body. And, if I think it's fear, well, uh, I can say, I'm excited. Right. And then you can just change your mindset around that. And it usually allows you really, let's say, more easily to get through those moments. Right. So you got to choose to eat the bear. Right.
Yeah,
Choose
there is this
or not
book.
eat the bear, but shoot the bear.
Yeah, there is this book, Eat the Frog, and it's about doing the hardest thing first. So yeah, exactly. But it's
That is a
yeah,
good
quite
one too.
yeah,
Right.
because I think you, Brian, are saying it quite often that emotion is meant to be in our body for 30 seconds, no longer. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And same with thoughts. So as long as they flow, and we're not holding on to them and then going down these downward spirals, if they're, something quite negative, then they're just going to come and go, right? And we don't have to hold on to any of it. And anytime we do, well, then they're going to find a place throughout the body, and then we're going to have to really focus on getting rid of it, right? And it's through really focusing on those things and then letting them go. So yeah, that is more of a meditative process, really using reflection well. So yeah, when we're talking about how the brain works, there's this really great concept of neuroplasticity. And so you can think about your brain like an amazing, ever-changing, lush garden.
Like this is also important because for majority, like for the longest time, people thought that the brain, the way how you have your brain, that's how you stay with it. So that
Right,
people have this inability to change, but this is not true. Like you
right,
can involve your brain, and there are so many technique and methods to do it, but that's like the misconceptions that it was, I don't know, it was last century that's they really started to explore the neuroplasticity. It's not the
right,
common concept. It was that, I don't know, people thought that if you are stupid, you are meant to be stupid and you forever will be stupid. And or like, if I cannot remember stuff, then you are not meant to remember stuff. This is the
right,
biggest bullshit and the excuse. Since you will listen about neuroplasticity, like your excuses are out of the window. Brian,
right.
continue. That's important
Right,
topic.
right. Yeah, there's a lot of limiting beliefs that are around that are really just concepts, but the neuroplasticity is the real science that we know right now. And so in this garden scenario, right, the neuroplasticity is the gardener who's constantly pruning and planting new neural pathways from all the different experiences that you're having, and of course your behaviors as well. And so it's the brain's amazing ability to reorganize itself and form new neural connections as it sees fit, and you can control it. So you can think of it like this, like every time you learn something new or you have a joyful experience, you're actually planting seeds. And these seeds can grow into strong, healthy pathways when you repeat the action or experience, right? Thus reinforcing those positive feelings you want to be having. And so this is how it really works,
Yeah.
right?
Also, it could be compared to, let's say, you are walking through the grass for the first time. And
Right,
to walk through the grass, you made some footprints, not a big impact. But then you decide to walk again through the same grass. Better. So it's all about these walking back and forth enough of the times that your neural pathway are being established. And that's the thing, is that, for example, you have a neuro path that it's not the best, right? Let's say
right,
that's giving you joy. Let's put it like that. Then the less you travel that path, then the more grass it's going over it, and then soon this path will be very weak, or like not even, you
oh,
won't be able to see it. And that's pretty much the core of neuroplasticity of the brain,
right,
that something that is today very strong could be irrelevant in 6 months.
right. Yeah, as long as you start changing those habits, those patterns, those behaviors around it, you can rewire your brain. It's really understanding when you're feeling those sparks of joy, and when you're really feeling good about something, you want to make a mental note. You want to even write it down. Okay, this is the thing that I want to be doing more of. And then you're strengthening those neural pathways that are linked to joy. And they could be, things like hobbies and yet even practicing gratitude, right? Because the more you do it, the more it will really strengthen that neural pathway. And then the more gratefulness you will be able to experience because you're rewiring your brain to look for things to be grateful for. And then the things that you perceived as negative before now maybe become neutral because you start being grateful for them. And then you're having lots less negative experiences because you're being grateful throughout all of it. So that's like a very added bonus, right? You're going to be able to bounce back quickly as well, right? It's like weeding the garden, right? As long as we replace the things that we don't want, that aren't serving us, those patterns and thoughts and habits, with new joyful patterns and thoughts and habits, then we're going to get more of that. And it's really an ongoing process. Yeah,
It's
it's a
definitely
practice.
never ending, and
Mhm.
it's quite powerful because for some people, yeah, I'm usually using the same example that some people, they can be in like the most beautiful palace that you can see, but they can be still miserable because it's all
Right,
about NLP has neuro linguistic programming, that they have this model that what you perceive goes into your brain, right? And then it goes through certain filters that you try to categorize that. So
right,
for some people, it's like they will seek ill intention in actions of others. For some, they will see opportunities in everything. Some will
right,
think the challenges. But the trick for me, it's like to do more of people that are inspiring me to do. So for example,
right.
let's say this, if you are afraid, do it anyways, because every single person that went somewhere that I want to be, right, they are saying the same stuff, like, oh, I'm afraid too, but I'm doing it anyways. And that's the action that needs to be taken. So it's instead of like this neural pathway that like I'm stopping and not doing that, I'm like, okay, time to go. And that's like a practicing the muscle of joy as well, that yeah, like, oh, that you make a list what brings you joy, and you just allow yourself to experience as much as possible, because some
Right.
people, they don't believe that they can experience joy, or that life is not joyful at all. So it's one step at the time.
Right. Yeah. And it really depends on those perceptions and those beliefs that you're bringing to certain situations. I know there's a really famous story about there's a man sitting on the edge of a city, right? And he's on like a hilltop and you can see the city. And so a couple travelers come through and they say, man, that city's just totally full of robbers and thieves and all that stuff. And he goes, yeah, you're correct. Right. And then a couple other travelers come through and they say, wow, that was just like the greatest time. I met the coolest people and it was a big party and it was fantastic. And he's like, yeah, you're correct. Right. So whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Mm.
Right. And that's really the point here, right? You can rewire your brain in an evolving process that's never ending. And you can get whatever experience you want by simply focusing on that gratitude and all those different things that bring you joy. So
We can go simpler than that. You can just focus on the thing, because that's the majority of the planet that is focusing on the things that they don't want, instead of on the things that they want. So
right.
joy and gratitude will come, but just focus on the things that you want and just give all the attention to it. And that's
Yeah.
already a big transformation, because if you will start paying attention, like, oh my God, I'm so broke, I don't want to be broke, then you are literally like giving all your power away, instead of thinking like, ooh, how can I be good with money? And then that gives you more ideas, because the brain,
Right.
yeah, I think majority of people, they don't use brain in the right way, because the brain is not meant to contain your worries. The brain is meant to solve the problems, right? But the thing is,
Hallelujah.
like, if you don't ask a good question, or if you don't ask a question at all, because if you make a statement like, this happened in this way and I have nothing to do about it, then the brain is like, good for you, like, what can I
Right.
do? But you but if
Right.
you start asking like, okay, I'm in this shithole. like, I really don't like it where I am. How can I do something about it?
Right.
Ta-da, that's it. Then the brain will deliver, but you just
Right.
need to use it in the way how it's meant to be used. It's not like the
Right.
complaining machine or overthinking spiral. It's like you have an issue, right? You look at it and think about the next action, and that's it. Like, and then just
Right.
you go for the next action.
Right. Yeah,
That's a
it can.
neuroscience with Julia one by one.
Right. Yeah, 101. Yeah, it it can become your greatest problem solver.
Of course, it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you use it that way, or it can create tons of hell. But that's not the point, right? The point is to be joyful through all of it. And so,
That's it.
yeah,
Wire your brain to experience the most joy.
yeah,
Even when it's not joyful, just seek the best and it will
right,
actually come true.
right. Yeah, and you can act like that gardener and pull the weeds, right? What isn't giving me the beautiful thing I want to see in the garden? Just pull those and plant a new seed and then start watering it every single day. And soon you will see it grow, your joy growing. And so that would
Actually,
be the
yeah.
exercise.
Yeah, and because we spoke about the exercise, and I just came up with something that it's even more practical than what we came up with. So
Nice.
I know for a fact that you have a person in your life that is slightly annoying you, or maybe you cannot even stand, or it's maybe even more than that, right? So the task of the day is that when this thought, that this is a challenge, right? This is a challenge of the week. When this thought of the comment or judgment arises to your beautiful mind that you have beautiful flowers in, it arises, then you got to stop yourself there and come up with 5 positive thoughts that they are complementing somehow this person in your head. That's the mental challenge. For each negative comment or judgment, you come up with 5 positive ones. If it's easier, make a list on the paper. I've done it. I've done it some years ago. It was
Good.
challenging. I
Yeah.
didn't know that I have so much to say in my head about strangers that I have never met. But then, like, coming up about the good stuff about the strangers that you never met, it's even harder. So,
Right.
but it works. It's really good exercise. So try it. Just one negative comment equals 5 positive ones, and see what will happen.
Yeah, that's an amazing challenge. And you're beginning to rewire your brain. So it's perfect. It's a perfect challenge. And it's not easy. That's why they call it a challenge. You get to do it the
Yeah.
whole week and then tell us about it in the comments or in next week's episode.
It's very
Yeah.
anchored to a certain situation, and yeah.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, and those are some of the most difficult too. The relationships, those difficult ones. So how can I bring more joy into those? That's amazing. So good luck, everybody, with that one.
And
Right?
good luck to us, because for sure,
We got to do it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's the fun part.
And I'm traveling home. Oh my God.
Okay. So yeah, you're going to be writing a lot of positive stuff. Good for you. Yeah, definitely thanks everybody for tuning in. We'd love to see you on the next episode. If you'd like to like or subscribe, and you can buy us a coffee. There's a whole ton of different links in the footnotes. And we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Right, ciao.